Hey, what's up, boys? So, real quick, this is going to be a video that has topics that may be sensitive to some people. So, if you can't handle it, I suggest skipping this one. But this is going to be a video that's going to show you the very extreme cases of an incel, right? Other than that, let's get straight into it. I'm not going to waste your time. Yeah.
In 2018, there was a mass shooting at a hot yoga studio in Tallahassee, Florida. The gunman was a guy named Scott Paul Beerley, who identified himself as an incel online. So far, the incel-related cases I've covered on this channel haven't resulted in any deaths or even injuries, unless you count the injuries to themselves. But today's case is different. So the subject of today's episode is a man named Scott Paul Beerley, a man born in 1978, 40 years old at the time of this story.
Yeah, man. It's tough. Incel at 40, man. He's doing something wrong, though. I guarantee you he's doing something wrong. 40. There's something wrong there, man. He needed to fix it, but according to where the video's going, it doesn't look like he's going to. So, yeah.
Thanks to social media profiles he left online, such as on Facebook and on LinkedIn, we have a pretty good idea of what kind of person he was. He was a military veteran, for one. His role in the army involved procuring technology like night vision goggles and fire support equipment. There are some photos floating around that show him at the US military base in Grafenwauer, Germany. However, after 2 years he was gone. Although he was honorably discharged, it has since come to light that he was let go after inappropriate contact with female soldiers.
And there you have it. That was what was wrong, man. The dude was a diddler. If you know, you know, man.
It seems that afterwards he then became a teacher, along with being an Eagle Scout.
Okay, so maybe it like came to light after, but I wouldn't let this guy in the vicinity of a school, let alone him being a teacher, right? I can't trust this guy with a kid I don't know, let alone my kid, right? I don't have a kid, but if I had a kid, I wouldn't trust him, right? But somehow he became a teacher, and yeah.
Scout. He taught for the Anne Arundel County Public School System in Maryland, where he reportedly taught English and social studies at Meade High School. He was also affiliated with some nearby conservative groups such as the FSU College Republicans and We Are Conservatives. Eventually, he transitioned into being a substitute teacher before losing the job entirely, listing his profession as job seeker since 2013. So what was it that probably brought his career to a grinding halt? Well, it was likely a...
Guess. Go on, guess. I'm serious. Guess. I have a guess, and it's as good as yours. Go ahead and guess. I have my guess.
a number of things that combined into one large, concerning lump. Scott had a very long history of big, glaring red flags. He's been arrested, accused of groping women, banned from a college
I was right, and so are you.
campus, made inflammatory YouTube videos, made misogynistic SoundCloud songs, and idolized, you guessed it, the Supreme Gentleman himself, Elliot Rodger. So while Scott was going back and forth between multiple schools as a substitute teacher, he eventually met the end of his career after facing many, quote, performance issues and being accused of inappropriate behavior on multiple accounts. On one of these accounts, it's reported that he repeatedly asked a female student if she was ticklish, while awkwardly tickling her stomach just below her chest, obviously against her wishes. He's also been arrested on charges of battery twice, once in 2012 and once in 2016, both times grabbing butts he shouldn't have been grabbing. A local woman had called the police on Scott in 2012 when he reportedly...
Look at that fucking smile, bro. Look at that smile. I can't trust that guy, man. Look at him. Now, you could draw comparisons from him to me, but fuck that guy. I can't trust a guy who looks like that, I'm telling you, man.
Police on Scott in 2012 when he reportedly grabbed her butt at a Florida State University dining hall. For unknown reasons, she declined to press charges against him in the end. In around 2014, Scott heard of who they called the Supreme Gentleman, Elliot Rodger. He sympathized with...
By the way, if you want me to react to... Actually, I won't, because I've already watched the video, so... I know what he did, I know the stuff that he's done, but... Brief lore, this guy was an incel, and he thought that he was on top of the world and stuff like that, and thought the girls should just soil themselves as soon as they saw him and come up to him and just all that stuff, right? He thought that he was so worthy of girls that they should have just walked up to him and proposed to him. And when that didn't happen, he killed a bunch of people. There's no way to sugarcoat it. He killed a bunch of people. And I don't remember if it was one person or a bunch of people. It's been a while since I've watched the video, but he essentially killed because he didn't get any girls, right? Yeah.
with him, saying that he also felt lonely and unloved by the ladies. If you watch my videos, I'm sure you know the drill by now, so I'll get it over with pretty quickly. Elliot Rodger was what they call an incel, which is a shortening of the title involuntary celibate, meaning someone who wants to have sex but is unable to, usually due to reasons involving social awkwardness. And as in the other videos, some of these incels begin to hate women, and some of those end up becoming violent due to that hatred. Scott was showing signs of becoming one of those few. In 2014, Scott started posting his own videos on YouTube under the nickname Scott Carnifex. Unfortunately, YouTube has removed his videos, but many people have saved them online and discussed their content.
Unfortunately? How is that an unfortunate occurrence, man?
Scott publicly identified as an incel and repeatedly complained about being rejected by women. He self-identified as a misogynist as well. He also tended to go on rants about black people and illegal immigrants, with
Oh shit.
one of the video titles being Dangers of Diversity. One of these videos was titled The Rebirth of My Misogynism, in which he started listing the names of women that he met all throughout his life, from middle school up until his stint in the military, that he said caused his rebirth, likely meaning that they were what made him into an incel.
Address the origins of my misogynism and the rebirth.
I'm sorry. Just a second. I had to cut out a lot of long pauses and coughs for the sake of all our sanity. Assume this is true for all of these videos. Thank you, man.
Of my misogynism and the rebirth, and when it was reborn, emerges out of the womb one particular way, but entering adolescence, I had the same goals and objectives and expectations, really, I think, as anybody, as any tweeners, is that the word, is that the term? I would say the origins really derive in 8th grade. 8th grade home ec class. If you haven't seen the will that a group of females can generate when they target anyone, be it the target of their collective treachery can be anyone. In this particular case, it was me. It wasn't some other female.
He also...
No, but like, what did they do though? That's pretty vague explanation, man.
really seemed to despise the idea of interracial relationships. In one video, he stated that women were whores if they dated black men, and said that he himself found black women to be disgusting.
I see a lot of interracial couples. When I see an interracial couple, I think one of two things, and I don't believe I can't imagine that I'm unique in this. I think one of two things: either the guy couldn't do any better, or the girl's a whore, or it has some variety of mental illness or psychological issue. In particular, what I'm referring to is a white man and a colored girl, or a man of color and a white female. The Army seemed to have a lot of this, and I saw plenty of officers with Asian wives or black wives, and I always thought, this is what you're resigning yourself to.
The fuck? Yeah, he's gone, man. He was gone by the filming of this video. He was already far gone, man. Bro.
You couldn't do any better than this to provide you with companionship, ultimately. I mean, even mail order, you can get a mail order bride from Russia or the Ukraine. You don't have to resign yourself to some...
This dude did not just... He said you could get a mail order bride from Russia. So you're telling me, right? I would go out and find a mail order bride from Russia, then ditch my now girlfriend just because she's white, Hispanic, or something. That's what you're saying. He's like, this is what I'm saying. He's gone. He's gone.
Some iguana, some lizard. I had a flatmate here, a sweet mate, and he had a black girlfriend, and I remember thinking, like, I hope you don't do whatever I guess you have to do to make you happy, but I hope you don't expect me to envy you. You might as well go down to the pet store and buy a puppy and start fucking it. I'm not going to envy you that either. I mean...
Yo, this guy's wild. He's wild, man. He's wild. He literally... I'm not going to repeat it for the sake of this video. I'm not going to repeat it, but that's fucking wild.
If a third to a half of all your females are disgustingly obese and have bad skin, yeah, and if these girls are going to be whores,
The rest of the videos mainly consisted of rants about any topic, anything ranging from subjects like the Affordable Care Act to long-winded complaints about girls who bullied him in middle school. And when I say they could be about any topic, I mean pretty much any topic.
I see dreadlocks as the black man's mullet. For those of you who don't know what mullets are or were, you don't really see them anymore because they looked ridiculous. Even as a teen, I never...
Chris Jericho rocks a mullet to this day, and he still looks alright. Okay. It's not good to group all of the mullets in one and it looks ridiculous. No. He's pulling it off, man. I'm sorry I'm pausing the video so much. I'm sorry. I'll stop that.
Wore a sports jersey of a professional athlete, even as a teen. But as a teen, I suppose you can get away with it. The invasion of Central American children and Hobby Lobby. I'll make this quick. Male pop singers as opposed to female pop singers. It branches into country music as well, pop country, I guess you'd say. I'd like to talk a little bit about cops now and how much I hate them and why I hate them. I know there's a movie called Mean Girls, but that's girls being, I think, mean to other females. You've never...
Honestly, I'd love to just keep showing these videos for longer, but there are so many of them. It's almost 2 hours in total, and there are a lot of, let's say, display-worthy moments. He also posted on SoundCloud, where he made what people have called misogynistic music, with such classic titles as Bring Your Fatwa and American Wigger. I can't find any of these songs online anywhere. I'd be interested in hearing them, so if you can find them, please list them down in the comments below. I'd appreciate it. According to recounts of the songs, in one song called Locked in My Basement, it is said that he described keeping a woman as a toy chained in his basement. In another, he spoke of walking into a high school locker room and groping all the girls there. He basically had zero talent musically, said a Florida recording engineer who rented a studio to Beerly for $50 an hour. After a while, his behavior obviously started causing concern. To who, you may ask? Pretty much everybody. His family, his friends, his co-workers, his roommates, his bosses, school employees, online communities, and even law enforcement. A few people did end up reporting him to the police for various reasons. He even got banned from some local bars due to the way he treated female customers.
So he's basically he's the poster for misogyny. If you think of misogyny, think of this guy. Okay. Yeah, I can see it.
Parents were concerned with the way he would touch girls and were concerned enough for their own safety around him that,
especially this picture right here. You think misogyny, you think this. Right.
They slept with their bedroom door locked at night. We called him Nazi Scott. He'd walk up and just start talking about how Hitler was right to clear the human race of gays and Jews and blacks, said a woman who knew him. However, even with this many red flags, nobody assumed that he would be capable of much, much worse. There was another incident in 2016 in which Scott was arrested on a misdemeanor battery charge. A young woman had reported him, saying that he came up to her in the swimming pool at her apartment complex. When he did, he complimented her butt and asked if he could rub sunscreen on it. The woman obviously declined the generous offer. So...
Generous? This guy needs to be... You need to be fucking... You need to be in jail, man.
Scott then slapped, grabbed, and shook her butt before apparently leaving. The woman in this case agreed to drop the charges against him if he completed a 6-month-long diversion agreement, which set several limitations for him, including some that forced him to avoid drinking too much and to see a psychologist and follow their recommendations. Around this time, there was a rise in what the Secret Service calls misogynistic extremism. It grows and festers within these incel communities. They serve as giant echo chambers for these ideas to spread to new members and grow worse and worse with current members. There have been many mass killings recently that have been committed by these members. Until now, the videos I've focused on have mainly covered failed attacks, but that's not the case today. Scott Paul Beerly, now a 40-year-old, unemployed, chronically single man, hit rock bottom. He began planning an attack, and continued to plan it for months, reportedly. One fateful day, on November 2nd of 2018, he decided to finally carry out his plans. He set his sights on a hot yoga studio in the Benton Hills complex on Bradford Road in Tallahassee. He showed up around 5 p.m., posing as a new student who had signed up for the yoga class. 11 other people were there for the 5:30 p.m. class, along with the instructor. Once inside, at about 5:37 p.m., Scott pulled a gun out and began shooting, hitting 6 people in the process. After those shots were...
6 people, man. Fuck.
Fired, however, his gun jammed. Seeing the opportunity, one of the men attending the class, Joshua Quick, charged him. Quick indeed. Scott pistol whipped him in the head during the scuffle, giving the man a very bloody, painful injury, but failing to stop him entirely. I jumped up as quickly as I could, said Quick, sporting multiple injuries across his face. I ran back over, and the next thing I know, I'm grabbing a broom, the only thing I can, and I hit him again. He then proceeded to beat Scott with both that broom and a vacuum during the fight. Several people were able to flee during their exchange. Afterwards, the man who attacked Scott was able to flee the building as well, rushing into a nearby bar afterwards.
Thanks to him, I was able to try to rush out of the door. I was slipping, I was dripping blood everywhere because I got shot through my thigh. He saved my life.
A woman began.
Yeah, that dude's a G, man. That dude is a G. He is not an incel, and I'm sure of it. I'm sure you are, because you want to go into a yoga studio and kill people.
And to treat the wound on his head, which was bleeding profusely. He notified the patrons at the bar that there was an active shooter nearby. The bloody mess on his head led credence to these claims. The customers at the bar then noticed more people fleeing from the studio. The yoga studio was actually part of a multi-story plaza that also housed some restaurants, jewelry stores, hair salons, and other businesses. Eventually, those around would start to hear the commotion in the yoga studio. A 60-year-old man, when interviewed, was said to have been eating at a restaurant below the yoga studio when he and his family heard several loud bangs above them, which they now realized to have been gunshots. "We just heard pow, 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 pow," the man said. It sounded like a limb falling on a tin roof and rolling. Eventually, the restaurant owner came out, asking if there was a doctor anywhere near in the building. An emergency room nurse was actually present, and she was able to help treat the victims for about an hour as help arrived. The Tallahassee police were called out to the studio right after all the action started. They arrived just minutes later, and when they did, they were in for a sight. They found Scott lying there in the blood-covered studio, dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
So most of them end, right? The guy ends up killing himself. Because you can't live past that. I can't say he deserved to die. I think the only thing he deserved was to be just imprisoned for life. I think that's what he deserved. Because it would have been longer, more excruciating, and he would really just get what he did, right? Like, he can understand the severity of what he did and the consequences he got because of them, right? I think he needed to be jailed for life, but he took the easy route. He killed himself. I don't know if I'm going to blur that out. Sure, YouTube is sensitive about that, so I think I'll blur it out.
6 others had been shot as well, and paramedics were quickly called to the scene. One victim was in critical condition at the Tallahassee Memorial Hospital, along with 3 other people who were listed as being in serious condition. However, 2 of the victims, Maura Binkley and Nancy Van Vessem, had already since died at the scene. Maura was 21 years old, a student at Florida State University, all set to graduate in 2019. Nancy was a doctor, 61 years old, the chief medical doctor for Capital Health Plan.
Just because you were single, you took the lives of a doctor. You took the lives of a doctor and a fucking just innocent woman. Just because you're single. Just because you won't go out and talk to people. Just because you won't fix your own mental disorders and you can't go to a fucking... Why? Yeah, he's the worst of the worst, man. There's no excuses for what he just did. Absolutely none. What he did here was heinous, man.
She also was a part of Florida State University, although she worked as a faculty member. The president of FSU, John Thrasher, quickly released a statement in relation to the incident. There are no words to express the shock and grief we feel after learning of the deaths of Maura Binkley and Dr. Nancy Van Vessem. To lose one of our students and one of our faculty members in this tragic and violent way is just devastating to the Florida State University family. We feel this loss profoundly, and we send our deepest sympathies to Maura's and Nancy's loved ones while we pray for the recovery of those who were injured. The police ended up interviewing 40 people at the scene, all of which had similar accounts of hearing the gunfire and seeing the people fleeing the scene. The police chief, Michael DeLeo, gave credit to the yoga students who fought back against Scott, not only to save themselves, but to save the people around them.
The fact that we had people fight this attacker.
It was dangerous, but like, the courage is like admirable, man. Just charging at the guy with a gun is one hell of a feat, man.
And prevent him from doing further harm really, I think, speaks to the true spirit of Tallahassee.
Soon enough, the FBI themselves were on the case. Cooperating with local police, both were able to attest to Scott's extreme hatred of women, calling him disturbed. They discovered that his plans had actually started months and months before the incident, not giving much detail beyond that. After a while, the case was officially designated as misogynistic extremism. One day after the shooting, an instructor from the Hot Yoga Center held a public class in the middle of Adams Street to promote healing. Florida State University held a candlelight vigil for all of the victims of the shooting 2 nights later on November 4th. A series of other vigils were held during the next 2 nights as well, some held by the friends and family of the deceased victims. Various tributes were also posted online, often by those who knew the victims. The woman who had filed a police report against Scott all the way back in 2012, the one who got her butt grabbed in the dining hall, told the press that she never forgot how creepy Scott was. She was 18 back then, while Scott was 34 years old. I was totally just shocked. Since then, I've been feeling a little guilt. If I'd pressed charges, would that have stopped him from doing all of this? How was he not monitored somehow? She said.
That's tough. Because you have a guy who ended up obviously doing this, and you asked yourself if you could have taken measures to get him either help or just get him in a fucking jail cell. Would that have stopped that? But like, it's in the past, you know. There's no reason to feel guilt over that, you know. Just, it's in the past, right? Like, what has happened has happened. It's terrible, but it's happened, right? And the only thing you could do is move on, right? Yeah.
2018, the Southern Poverty Law Center and the NCSTRT started including male supremacy in with the ideologies that they track. The Anti-Defamation League started taking misogynistic ideology seriously as well, saying in their 2018 report, "Every day, as virulent white supremacists make their hatred known, we immediately and rightly call them extremists. We have not been nearly as unequivocal in our condemnation when it comes to men who express violent anger towards and loathing for women. Attacks connected to incel ideology, such as this attack and one..."
This dude right here, man, he started everything. Fuck this dude, man. If you haven't seen this video of this guy, go watch it. I'm not reacting to it because I've already watched it, so, but this guy, the fucking worst.
That occurred in Toronto, Canada in 2018, ended up raising a lot of awareness as to what dangers these online communities can really cause. Let me know if you'd like to see me cover that Toronto case as well. Then in 2019, the parents of Maura Binkley decided to sue both the yoga studio and the owner of the property, saying that both of them were negligent when it came to providing enough safety for the attendees. Then just recently, this year in 2022, the Secret Service National Threat Assessment Center finally released a detailed study of this incident. They declared that the attacker is typical when it comes to misogynistic extremism, the most violent end of the spectrum of incel ideology. Scott's previous arrests, his videos, his songs, and his blatant admiration of Elliot Rodger were factors in this declaration. The case was produced in order to study how extreme hatred of women can result in such violent and even deadly behavior. The research is planned in order to help train law enforcement, school officials, and members of the community to help better identify these attackers like Scott before they attack rather than after. Once again, thank you for watching my video. If you
Yep. That's what you get when a guy who doesn't get any play gets put into the world. A guy who won't say, hey, maybe if I stopped hating women and, try to talk to them, maybe, just maybe, I could become friends with them. Or I could end up dating one of them. Or I could end up, getting some play out of it, right? These types of people, these are the people who end up just doing the most horrible things. That is where I don't think Blue Pill falls under that. I don't. It's just this guy was just being an incel and just being an idiot. So other than that, this video is getting to be I'm looking at it right now, it's 31 minutes long. Other than that, I'll see you guys later. Peace.